Scales! I'm sure you all know a major scale, you might know a minor scale, you probably know a pentatonic scale, you might even know your modes. But just knowing a scale as and of itself can be pretty pointless, especially if you've only learned it in one position and one octave. Now, there are a limitless number of ways we can apply scales in our bass lines and fills, and I've covered a bunch of them already on this channel. But today, we're going to focus on one way of playing scales that will allow you to create hundreds or even thousands of hours practice as you learn a scale all over the fretboard, develop your technique, and apply them as cool fills in a groove setting. So we're going to look at scale sequences. This lesson is taken from volume 2 of the Creative Bassist course over at Talking Bass. The course covers every element of bassline and fill creation, everything you need to jam in a band all the way through to soloing on bass. So it covers a huge amount of content. I've just released the first part of volume 2, so the course is currently discounted for the release week. Click the link below for more details, and now let's get into some awesome scale practice. Now we have a set of musical resources for creating runs, we can jump in a little deeper by looking at sequences. Sequences are, as the name suggests, sequential patterns making use of the notes of a scale or arpeggio. There are a huge number of sequences that we can use, but in this lesson, we'll take a look at some basic examples to get you started. Sequences can really help with developing your fills and melodic lines because they can be adapted to any scale or arpeggio. So let's use a C major scale as our basic example, and we'll play it here at the 8th fret of the E string. Again, giving us some real estate to work with. So now let's try a basic ascending 4-note sequence. So all we're going to do is take a C, then we're going to work up 4 notes. C, D, E, F. Then we move to the second note, which is D, and again play up 4 notes. D, E, F, G. Then move up to the next note, E. Work up 4 notes, E, F, G, A. And you just continue doing that through the scale. So F, G, A, B, and then you're back at C. So when we put all of those groupings together, we get the following exercise. Then we can come down. So all of that is transcribed in the lesson material, so you can work through it, one note at a time, but it's much easier to just see the scale there under your fingers and then just pick out the notes as needed. So you think 4 notes, another 4 notes, and eventually, running through that, you'll just get the muscle memory for it. So you don't have to think of where you're going, all the individual notes. You just think, okay, we're starting on the first note, then the second note, then the third note, then the fourth note, and you're just working up 4 notes each time. Sequences are a great way of making use of scales because we get so much more from a limited set of notes. You can use them to create melodic lines in fills or solos, and they're a great exercise for really learning, a scale pattern. So as a first exercise, just try playing that basic 4-note sequence for the major scale in every key through the cycle of fourths. So you can start with C, then you can move to F, so you could play it up here, or you could play it down here. Which is going to be a little bit more difficult because you've got the open strings, but, that's good practice. Then B flat, etc. Just work through them. E flat, A flat, D flat, G flat, through the cycle. Like I said, we can apply that 4-note sequence to any scale. So let's try a D natural minor scale. So if take the D there, 5th fret of the A string, and work up. You should all know that by now, the standard D natural minor scale. Now let's try going up 4 notes at a time. Play it there, or we could start at the 10th fret of the E string. Again, that allows you to work your way onto the G string. Or we could try a Mixolydian. So start at A, 5th fret of the E string. Again, remember Mixolydian, it's the major scale with that flattened 7th. 4 notes at a time. beyond the 4-note sequence, we can use other numbered groupings. So let's try a 3-note grouping. So again, C major. Instead of 4 notes, work up 3 notes. So 1, 2, 3, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Obviously playing them as triplets, so that's another great exercise. And we can go one step further and try a 5-note grouping. So using C major again, we could try 5 notes. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and just work through. As well as basic groupings that move in a single direction, you can also play descending groupings in an ascending sequence. So we could try groups of descending 4s in ascent. So if we start at the C major again. So this time I'm starting at the 3rd fret of the A string, come down 4 notes, C, B, A, G, then move up to the D. So we're dropping down, but we're going up. Or we could try descending 3s. Working through. Or another very popular grouping might be descending 2-note groupings. So if I start at the C, drop down 1, again. So. And obviously, these are just exercises. In application, you're probably less likely to run continuous sequences in one direction over, multiple octaves. It can happen, but you're probably going to use shorter segments of a sequence more often. So over a C major chord, I could play just 2 groupings from a descending 4-note sequence, like from an A note. So, just working down like that. So even though I only played 2 groupings there, it's still a sequence. I'm still sequencing those groupings of 4s. Sequences can be a very useful way of working up and down the fretboard in a horizontal fashion. For example, we could play an ascending 4-note grouping in C major like this. So here we're using multiple positions of that C major like we did in the earlier lessons. We've got this low area, move up to the E here, up to the G, up to the B. We've got these separate areas that we can work on. So if we start in this low area, C, 3rd fret of the A string, I work up 4, then start at the D. That's that area taken care of. Then we make the transition up to the E at the 7th fret of the A string. So then after 2 groupings, we move up to G with the 2nd finger. Then we move up to the B at the 14th fret of the A string. And we finish. So in each area, we're playing 2 groupings. And in descent, we can just reverse all that. So we can start at the E at the 14th fret of the D string. Just come down once and then move down to the D. Catch that with the 4th finger there. Then move down to the B at the 9th fret of the D string with the 3rd finger, the ring finger. Then we make the transition down with the 4th finger down at the 5th fret of the D string. So, and obviously you can work these sequences through any scale from any root note. There's a whole universe of things to practice here. Obviously, I'm just sticking with major and, a little bit of Mixolydian and a little bit of natural minor. But, in your own time, you've got lots and lots of things you can work on here. You can just pick a mode, pick a root note, and then try some of these sequences. Try them in one position, and then try moving them up and down the neck. And then once you've managed to play them up and down the neck, you can start incorporating them as runs and fills in your own music. Now, as a fill, let's try a 4-note descending sequence over a C7 chord using the C Mixolydian scale. And that sounds like this. So here we've got a basic groove over a C7 chord, just on that C, 3rd fret of the A string. Same groove that we've used in the previous lessons. We'll just play 1 bar of it, and then we shoot up to the C at the 10th fret of the D string. Remember, this is a C Mixolydian, so just familiarize yourself with that first. Okay, remember, major scale with a flattened 7th. So we come down, root, flat 7, 6th, and the 5th. So there. So we're coming down 3 sets of 4. And then we make the transition down to the G and come down. So G, F, E, D. And then we're back to the C. So very slowly. So one more time with the track. So, as homework, create 5 fills making use of sequential scale groupings. You can use any scale from any root note for any duration, but 1 bar is a good starting point. Use both horizontal and vertical movements, so work across the strings and up and down the neck. So maybe create a run working up and down the fretboard, then create one moving across. Then apply that sequence by simply creating a riff making use of that scale. Then you can apply the riff every 2, 4, or 8 bars. Now, if you want to dig a little deeper into sequences, the Cyborg Bassist series of ebooks from Talking Bass are an exhaustive and progressive deep dive into sequencing all over the fretboard. The books contain many sequences using the major and minor scale, but they also work through arpeggios, which we'll be looking at in the next lesson.